this is our second little gathering. We just got a cool, like completely different people. I like that. Beautiful faces. Most people here know the purpose of this is just to bring people together. Kind of like a midweek preparedness, readiness. I don't know how to explain it. Pick me up, something, so that people can come together. Well, so that we can come together and the main focus is just to realize that we all got people. Like we all got a little storm in us or around us or just came out of, and it's nice to get together and realize we're not alone, we're not in this alone. Sometimes you don't get that comfort in your family. Sometimes you don't get that comfort in your church. Sometimes you don't get that comfort in your home. So when you have someplace you can come and be like, okay, she just as broken as I am, we good. Like we can do good together and come out of this together. Last week we talked about the armor of God, which is like pretty dope to me. We could like talk about that every week and still not get through it. This week I have my favorite poem, spoken word, that I did not write. This thing has been around for 100 years, since 1920. It's by Myra Books. And I want to read this, and then I'm going to speak into it, and then Kemoni's going to step up and give her testimony. Praise God. Yes. So this spoken word is titled, The Touch of a Master's Hand. I'm going to read this, and then like I said, I even had a violin and everything. I forgot it at home because it was my son's, and I was like, dang it, like had props. It was good. But God said, you don't need that. Get there. All right. So, 'twas battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it hardly worth his while to waste his time on an old violin, but he held it up with a smile. What am I bid for this, good people? Who will start the bidding for me? $1? $1? Do I hear $2? $2. Who will make it 3? 3 going once, 3 going twice. Going and going, said he. But no, from a room far back, a gray-bearded man came up. He picked up the bow. He wiped the dust from the old violin and tightened up the strings. Then he played a melody, soft and sweet as an angel sings. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice quiet and low, said, what am I bid for this now? 1,000? 1,000? Who'll make it 2? 2,000? Who'll make it 3? 3,000 going once, 3,000 going twice. Going, gone, said he. The crowd cheered, but some of them mumbled. They just don't understand. What changed his worth? Swift came the reply, the touch of the master's hand. And many a men with life attitude, all battered and scarred with sin, are auctioned off to a thoughtless crowd, much like that old violin. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game, and he travels on. He's going once, he's going twice. He's going and almost gone. But the master comes in, and a foolish crowd would never quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that is wrought by the touch of the master's hand. That was good. Wasn't written by me, but so that touches me. Like every time I read that, I could cry. Because we can look at something and not see the value in it. And it's just because we don't know how to play it. We don't know what it's good for. We don't know what can come out of it if the right thing touches that. And that's pretty dope, yeah. And the world itself will never see our full potential. It doesn't have the ability to. It didn't write our book. It didn't create our story. So to live with our focus and to get everything we need from this world, will always live under our potential. And if you find yourself in a room full of people like the violin did, that has given you permission to devalue yourself and sell yourself short, then you're in the wrong room, and it's time to change rooms. God created you for reasons that he knows, for greatness, to do his works here on earth.
for a purpose that as you start to unravel the truth, you'll always be walking towards the light. And even when it feels dark, your faith will keep you going in the direction towards the light. So you'll still get there. You just gotta have faith. He will keep the light in front of you at all times. He wastes no days, he wastes no nights, and he ain't wastes the moment when he created you. Your level of achievement will always be limited until you let God's hand touch you, just like the violin. Now the hard part is there are a lot of people around you that they can't really see past the dirtiness or the scars or the wounds, and they define you as your past, and it's not their fault. It's not, even though they wouldn't want you to define them as their past. But your scratches and scars, the dirt on you, however much you've been played, does not terminate your purpose. It doesn't take it away. As long as you're getting up and you're waking up and you're standing and not laying down in the ground, you still got a purpose. It still exists. It's still available. You still can reach back and grab it when he's there. We either willingly or subconsciously trust other people to influence our understanding, and that's proven by the cars we have to drive, the things we have to buy, the size of our houses. And I'm not saying that's not good things and God doesn't bless us with things, but we have the tendency to want to impress the next person sometimes, and that's not where we get our value from. Let me give you an example on why I don't let people determine my value. So I was looking things up online because Google is life, right? And I found some things that were for sale because of who touched it and who possessed it. The first thing I found was the oven mitt from the Seinfeld show. I don't know if anybody else watched Seinfeld. I'm a nerd. I watched it. So when Seinfeld used to walk in, on his wall there was an oven mitt that was in the shape of a cat. All right. Kramer used it in one episode for a pan. I won't go into details, even though I want to. But this oven mitt is for sale on eBay for $10,000. $10,000. It's made from cotton and polyester, probably. I'm sure it's not the only one. It's just something they put on set there because it was in the movie, because of who possessed it and who touched it. We put a value on it, of greater than the rest. Okay. Then I also found the piano from the Casablanca movie. Yes, I'm a nerd. From 1942. It was played by Julie Wilson, who played the character Sam. This piano was sold for $3.4 million in 2014. Okay, so just the piano alone, all right, $3.4 million, okay. But then I searched some more. Like, I spent a lot of time because I was curious. So the same piano, kind of make, model, everything from the 1940s and until now, ranges from $800 to $19,000. I mean, that's still a pretty penny, but way below the value that this investor put on this piano. What I also found out is this piano had 30 broken or unusable keys on it. And it had gum under it, which the investor said it made it unique. So the dirtiness about this piano made it unique enough for this investor to value it more. I ain't done yet though. So Julie Wilson didn't even know, he played instruments, but he didn't know how to play a piano. Somebody in the back of the stage played the piano while it looked like he was playing it. But it still was about who possessed it and who touched it, that this person felt it was worth way more than the rest, okay? Now I can stop there, but I thought something was pretty dope. And my grandma's here and she'd appreciate this. Elvis Presley's underwear sold for $8,000, okay? A pair of underwear because of who possessed it, and in places on, you can't even imagine who touched it, was worth $8,000. Now along those lines, let me tell y'all something real cool though. His Bible sold for $94,000. And I will tell y'all, I'm glad God didn't make me rich for those other investments because I would be a fool to spend that much money on those other things just because how I do my money. But $94,000 for a Bible, if you told me I had to spend that in order to get the word in front of me, I would spend every last penny of that to get the truth in front of me. So I still thought that was pretty dope. So the people who purchased these things, they didn't even see these people touched it. Now they witnessed it on screen. I don't know if the person witnessed Elvis Presley wearing underwear or not. I don't know, but I doubt it. But they believed enough of who touched it and who possessed it to invest and put an extra value on these items. That's saying something. I think y'all know where I'm going. So let me connect now how all of these little items connect us back to the touch of the master's hand, the poem that we started with. So we can go all the way back to the beginning. When God's touch created man, he took dirt. The thing that we use to describe something we don't want to touch or have to clean or change, he took dirt and made it into a man. All right? A being. Something that we have something running through us that no scientist can duplicate. You can't make love. That's why we have love babies. So what God touched, nobody else can change. Got that? But he wasn't done there because he said, I almost got it. No, he didn't. But he did kind of, I think, in my head. He took his rear and was like, I'm going to touch that rear and I'm going to give you a woman. And again, with God's touch, then he said, now, when you begin to fathom God's touch and what it does to something, there's verses like Psalms 139:13 that start to hit you a little differently. And I'm going to read it real quick. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Sorry. So now I want y'all to picture that's y'all saying it to God. For he created you, your inmost being. He knit you together in your mother's womb. That's amazing. Like, amazing. God touched you before anything else had access to you. He took the time to create you. He knew how strong you would be. He knew what you were going to need to get through the storms that have been around you. He knew who you were going to like. He knew what you were going to look like. He knew how bad the enemy was going to get at you as soon as you came into this world. He knew, and he already supplied you with every rock you need to take out every Goliath that you came up against if you just let him touch. But if you don't understand who God is, or imagine the greatness that he has put in you, and he wants to do with you, you won't be able to live like that. You ain't going to walk around like my rocks is going to take out the Goliath. You can't. Not if you don't really realize what he can do with you. I'm going to read on to Psalms 139:14 because this is good. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well, but I'm not really reading that. That's for all of us. So in that, we praise you, Lord, because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works, God, are wonderful, and we all know that full well. We're wonderful. Nothing about us was made out of a mistake. Now, I joke sometimes because when I was a teenager, I was bad, first of all, but there was a lot of things about me that I didn't like. And the three biggest things I didn't like about myself, I love about myself now. I didn't like my teeth. I hated my little freckles on my face, and I hated curly hair. It's crazy because I probably have a conversation with somebody once a day saying something about I even had somebody ask me if I did my gap on purpose. No joke, I promise. And I'm like, no, but for me that meant a lot because God made it and it was on purpose. So everything I wanted to change about myself or felt uncomfortable with, I love now because I know God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't.
Amen.
Now, if you discredit who you are discrediting God's capabilities. You're saying, no, God, you made a mistake. No, God, you didn't mean to take that person out of my life. I needed them. No, God, I needed that job. I was going to go up the ladder. Why'd you take it from me? No, God, I was supposed to be married by now. Don't discredit what has in front of you and for your life. He don't make mistakes. So let me go on. Psalms. Let's go read the next verse. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. That's for us, y'all. That ain't just for me. That's for all of us. He already knew what was happening. He's just waiting on you to fully surrender to him and say, you know what? You got this. You done carried me through the storms. On a Thursday night at 7 o'clock, I'm here sitting next to the person I'm sitting next to, and it's not by coincidence. I'm here watching this woman who has overcome a lot of things that I don't even know about. And it's not by coincidence, okay? You have options, and you do have free will. But you won't have, if you don't have peace, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a daily inspiration, a how, a why, and a where, an acceptance of your weakness because that is his strength, then you need to reconsider what it is that you're pursuing, what you're allowing to possess you, and who's touching you. Do you know that the power that exists inside of you, if you let God back in, or let him in, or find him, or just seek him, and he touches and manifests it, what you are capable of? If you don't, you're not supposed to, because you didn't write your story, you did, okay? So you don't know, but it's way bigger than anything you could have imagined. And for me, I didn't just ask God to touch me. I'm a little bit more stubborn than that, and I have a feeling I'm gonna find out why at some point. I had to fully surrender my mouth, my mind, my relationships, my children, my finances, my heart, forgiveness. I had to surrender it all. And it takes a lot to rebuild, but it's worth it, baby. I promise y'all. I promise y'all. So maybe it's not just a touch you're looking for, but if you're looking for more than that, you do that too, because he did it for me.
Amen.
So, and one of the favorite things, when we'll bring it back to the Bible again, an example of God's touch. So Jesus, of all people, he walked around not questioning that God had a purpose for him. He was that one perfect person. He ain't questioned that there was a purpose and a plan, okay? And with that, when he walked around, he could touch things and they would be healed. Things touched him and they were healed. He believed in his purpose so much that when they came to take him, and he knew what his destiny was going to be, and these soldiers came, and Savage Peter cut off his ear, he was like, "Get behind me, Satan," who he once called his friend, okay? He knows that you were interfering with his purpose. He believed so much in God that he took the ear and healed the man that was carrying him off to death. That's pretty dope. I don't know sometimes if I'm willing to do that, but I pray that God give me the heart that I know if it's a sister or brother in front of me and it's their life or mine, it's going to be mine. Because that's the type of sacrifice I want to make, because I know that's the type of sacrifice Jesus made for me. And I am here to play. The world cannot devalue you, but you can allow yourself to function as if you were thrift store material. Because you feel used, unwanted, devalued, tossed around, beaten up, damaged. But God can repair, restore, strengthen, uphold you. And you ain't never on a shelf too high or low that he can't touch you. There's a purpose in the battle. There's strength after the fights. And when you finally ask God to touch your life, lead you and guide you to be your filler, he'll dust you off, tighten up your strings, and show you a few things about you that only he could do. And the world will call them mistakes. And those were the moments he called opportunities. And just like that, the master can play that beautiful music that blesses others. And that's what he wants to do with us. So, with that being said, the purpose of this meeting, again, is to bring us all together. And every time we do this, I'm either asking or begging or somebody to come up and give their testimony, because, again, it's not about me, it's about us. And I will tell you, this woman that I have come to talk is pretty dope. I know it's my favorite word. My kids are probably rolling their eyes right now. But this week has been, I've gone through a little bit of hell just emotionally and spiritually. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a few moments where I was like, things seem so easy sometimes, but they're so hard the next. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm being honest. And when this woman calls me, and we're talking about something else, and she hears something in my voice, and she knows something ain't right, and the first thing she says, we ain't talking about this no more, we gonna pray. And then she prays everything that you were thinking about that day and bothering you and was on you and the burden she was carrying. That's a friend. That's a God set up relationship, and that's what we need to look for. And they're out there, y'all. Trust me. They're out there. If y'all knew the story, and we met through a interesting circumstance, and they never left each other's side since. And I just want to end on just reminding everybody that his name is greater than all names. His name is greater than the stress that you came in here with. His name is greater than the man that I don't know, that you might have thought you wanted, the woman that you might have thought you wanted. I mean, his name is greater than the job you were supposed to have, the life you were supposed to have, the house that was supposed to be yours, the car that was supposed to be. His name is greater than all of that. And if you trust him, he will remain right there. Everything that you have coming at you, you'll see is greater than all that stuff you thought you wanted. So, Kemoni, would you please come up here and share your little testimony here?
So she wants me to share about my experience being a single parent. So mine is a little different. I got pregnant at 18. I had my son at 19. I think I hid my pregnancy until I was like 5 months, until I couldn't hide anymore. And I was terrified. I grew up in the church. Once I got to 16 or 17, didn't think about it anymore. Never really wanted to go back. But the biggest point of getting pregnant and the reality set in where I knew I needed God was 8 years after I had my son's father was in a car accident. He was hit on his motorcycle. A couple days before that, we got into a bad argument, and I can be completely transparent. I've never talked about this. I told him I hate him. We both said we hate you. We said all this horrible, the worst things you can ever say to somebody when you don't know if you'll ever see him again. Told him I hate him. I think, to be completely transparent, I think I told him I hope he died. But that was that young mentality and not knowing any better. The day he got into the accident, one of his family members kept calling my phone, and I was ignoring it because I was mad. I was like, I'm not talking to those people. They're crazy. I don't want to talk to them. They're on his side. I'm done. And when I finally answered my phone, they told me that he was hit on a motorcycle, and reality set in for me. The hardest part about that was, I told you I wasn't going to church. I started praying. I said, God, I don't want to be a single parent. I don't want my son to be a statistic of what society has not just labeled, but everything that all these young African-American men have been all this time. So for me, I was terrified. I was like, okay, I need him to get better. I'm going to try and be nice. I'm going to try and work this out. I'm not going to fight with this anymore, because that's when I realized what forgiveness was. And the scriptures where they talk about, my grandmother used to tell me all the time, don't let the sun go down on you when you're sitting here and you're having all this strife and arguments with people. I've learned how to get away from that just from this one experience. He was in the hospital 15 days before he passed away. I walked in the hospital, and I remember walking in the room, and I said, I'm sorry. I told him I was sorry. I asked him for his forgiveness. That was hard because he was not there. I believe that God allowed him to stay alive long enough for me to apologize to him and to move forward. And then my aunt called me, and she's like, Kemoni, I had a dream about Charles. He's going to be fine. He's going to wake up. Everything is going to work out. When you're a dreamer, you got to realize that what you see in your dream might not be the reality. And they called me and told me he passed away. I was everything that I said I didn't want to be. Let me tell you, I had an agreement with God. I'm like, look, you're going to let him wake up because I need a father for my son, and I don't want to go look for nobody to help me with this. So I had an agreement with God. This was my own set agreement. I thought this is what God was going to do, exactly what I prayed for, exactly what I told him to do, but that's not how it worked. I wasn't faithful to God. I wasn't going to church. I didn't have a prayer life. Even if I had it, of course, God's will is always going to be done, but that wasn't what I was looking at. And let me tell you, I can be honest, I was angry. When he passed away, I was like, I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to talk to God. I didn't want nobody to say, oh, it'll be fine. You know how when you're going through so much, you'll have individuals come up to you, oh, it's going to be so fine. We're praying for you. We'll do everything for you. You don't know how many people I had come to me and say, they're going to support me and my son. They're going to phone call away. Oh, we got this. We got this. Don't worry about it. I found out differently. But that didn't change how I felt about God. I was like, I don't care. I put him on the shelf, walked away, let the dust settle on him and everything. And I said, I'm not doing this, ever. It took a long time for me to surrender. Of course, other heartbreak, stress. God literally broke me down for me to get there. God broke me down to the point where I didn't have a choice but to surrender. To the point where I thought this was my idea. Okay, I lost my baby daddy. I'll call him my baby daddy because we weren't married. I said, yep, God gonna send me a husband, and I'm gonna throw this off on my husband. He gonna help me raise this man. I don't have to. That was my whole story, my whole plan. I had it all set out. I'll be married before I turn 30, having some more kids. He can help me raise my son. Oh, it was gonna be somebody rich, tall, dark, handsome man. I had it all set. Like, had my whole little list. I had probably like 20 pages of stuff that I expected to happen. But then I believe, I'm gonna be honest, when I got saved and in the church, I believe God wanted to teach me a lesson. He's like, nope, not gonna happen. So nothing that I set my eyes to do, God didn't do any of it. Like the whole plan of getting married before 30 and having more kids, I got one son. He'll be 22 in January, and he's in college. I have not been married. I think it's him not just teaching me, but showing me how to depend on him instead of man for the things that he wants to do. Because I believe if I would have gotten married, and it's nothing against man, but I believe somebody else would have took the glory of what my son has became without his father. My son graduated high school with a 3.98 GPA. He's in college in honors, got a full academic scholarship, but that wasn't because of man. That was all God. I can never take credit because I blinked. I was still trying to do my own thing, still wasn't where I needed to be. I think by the time my son turned 13, I decided to go to church. Like, I decided to go to church, decided to get a relationship with God because of heartbreak. It wasn't because I needed to and I wanted to. I was hurt so many times by people. My family, I know it was a purpose. I lived here. I left, it's actually been 10 years since I've been gone from Ohio, but I moved back a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. And before I left, nobody could help me. Like, it was like, I don't know, I believe it was a God thing because it saved my life to the point where every door I tried to open to look for help, none of my family. If you knew how big my family was, you'll wonder why I didn't have help. But I know it was orchestrated by God because if I wouldn't have ever left Toledo, I would have lost my life and my son would have been without both parents because of the lifestyle that I lived. And I thank God for getting me out. And I thank God for my family shutting the doors. At the time, I didn't understand it. I was hurt. I was like, I got this huge family and nobody wants to help me with anything. When I say everything shut, I lost my job. I lost my place. My car was acting up. I had to sell my car. Tashana was there with me and Cherie, and I was crying. I was like, I don't know what to do. I called my mom one day. If you know my story with my mom, so I know it's a huge testimony. My mom has never lived in one state longer than a year. She drives 18-wheelers, so she travels. So for some odd reason, she went to Alabama. She was there probably almost 2 years before I got there. And I called my mom and I was like, I need help. My mother said, the only way I'm helping you is if you come here. I started getting rid of everything. I got rid of all my stuff. I got a U-Haul. I was like, okay, I'm just doing it. I cried all the way up the road, y'all, because I was going to Alabama. I was like, who wants to move to Alabama? I cried. I said, God, I said, all they have is grass and animals everywhere. I said, what am I supposed to do in Alabama? And I got there, and spiritually, it was a life changer for me. Started off a little rocky, but once I surrendered, it was the biggest thing that I could have ever done for me and my son. He would have been a statistic if God didn't get me out of Ohio. So I get there. Once I get my job and my car, my mom started bringing the car over with stuff in the car. She's like, do you want this? And I'm like, what is she doing? The oddest thing ever. My mother moved back to Ohio. She said, I want to be closer to my mother. And I'm like, you haven't lived there for 15 years, lady. What are you doing? So she moved back to Ohio and left me in Alabama. But I was like, I'm stuck. I'll be honest. My family, I heard a couple comments like, she's not going to make it. So my little prideful self, I was like, I'm staying. I was like, I'm not going to let them show me anything. I said, I'm staying and I'm going to make this work. But I know it was a God thing because my son was playing sports. She waited till he was in the 8th grade and he was going to high school. There was no way I can leave to start him over in another state to play football. So I couldn't leave. I stayed there. I went from, I have to tell this, uneducated, 18-year-old pregnancy. I dropped out of high school. I went back to get my GED. I tried to go to college, but I kept stopping. I made so many excuses. Did not finish college. This is the biggest testimony for me. I started working at the hospital there, making $10.50 an hour. Less than 10 years, I was over $23 an hour. Less than 10 years. Every year, it was like a $3 to $4 raise. And you gotta have an education to get that. The jobs that I had required 4-year degrees, master's degrees. Didn't have it. It was called favor. It was called submission to God. And once I submitted, it didn't happen because, okay, I decided to go to church every now and then. It took a relationship. It was the relationship with Christ that got me to that point. I submitted my life to God, and it helped not only me, but it helped my son. I was terrified. I was like, God, and I hear a lot of my friends talk about the income that they have and their overhead. They don't understand how they survive. I was that victim for you. Well, not a victim. Thank God for it. I never had enough money for the overhead I had. My son played 4 sports all year round. And he played travel sports. Single parent, no help, nobody. I have no clue how I paid for it. Now I look back, I'm like, how did I pay that $500 to $700 every couple months for sports just to make sure my son did everything that he wanted to do? I have no clue. It was only a God thing. I remember blinking at his graduation and I said, how did we get here? It's a God thing. I feel like I slept all these years and then he woke me up and then it's like, okay, I got the relationship with Christ. I'm getting all these promotions. All these girls that work for me have master degrees. And I'm their boss and I'm running the show and all I can do is say, God, you are so good, because I have no clue how I made it there. And it's all because of a relationship. It's the relationship. It's definitely the relationship. So we look at it and say, okay, well, I'll pray when I want to. It takes discipline. I'll be honest. I'm not the most disciplined person ever. I can tell you, I have a friend and she's sitting in the room. I won't point no fingers or no elbows, but she has like 30 Bibles sitting on her bed, on her floor, she got a bookshelf on her couch. I have my phone, my tablet. I'm not as disciplined as some people, but it takes relationship. I love God so much. It doesn't matter if I'm not doing what she's doing or if I'm not praying for 30 to 45 minutes every few hours. It's called relationship. I'm very faithful to God. And it's because I don't want to hurt him anymore. All that time, I defiled my body. I defiled my family. I lied. I stole. I did things that I'm not proud of. But now that I have a relationship with God, it changes my whole outlook. I'm not going out. I'm not stealing, doing all that stuff. But I'm not sitting in prayer for 5 or 6 hours either. But I'm constantly, my mind is always on Christ. It never comes off Christ. It doesn't matter. It doesn't come off Christ. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't know who it's for. Don't ever think that you got to be so perfect that you got to live this life where you can't have friends or, you can't do certain things because they're not in the same position that you are or have the same thoughts that you are. Have you ever heard of being a light in dark places? That's what God calls us. We're lights. We are actually the living epistle. So we are the church. You can go to church once a week, but then what about the people that aren't coming to sit on the pews? Those are the people we're here to reach. So my story of hanging out and doing everything that I did, being a teenage parent, being a high school dropout, that's not for the people that are in the church. That's for the people who think that they got to get their life together before they come to church. I was coming to church with my holy jeans. I had wallet chains, because that was the time when that stuff was in style. Had the wallet chain and I never wore a skirt. I remember the lady told me when I first got saved, she told me that God wanted me to change my apparel. I was like, I ain't changing my apparel. I like my skinny jeans and my wallet chains, but I mean, it's okay to do it in moderation, but I was horrible. I would go to church in the shoes that I would wear to the club and think it was okay. I was leaving the club at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and then waking up a couple hours later trying to go to church. Not hungover because I didn't drink, but tired and a headache because I've been up all night trying to hang out. But to tell you that that's what helped me. Just being faithful. I'm not saying you got to be perfect because everybody don't come in and nobody's perfect. Jesus was the only one perfect. Nobody's married either. So you go to church, okay, you might go out every now and then. God will change it because he changed me. He gave me spiritual mentors that covered me. And when I was going out to do stuff, okay, I got a testimony. I was in my car, y'all. I was in my car headed to go see a man. This is just transparency here. I had just got in the church and I was like, oh, well, it's fine, I got to go see this man. He's, I'm like, okay, I'm going. I go to the gas station and gas up my car and it's late. One of my mentors called me and said, hey, what you doing? I said, oh, nothing. I said, about to go home. I lied. She was like, God said, don't go to that man's house. So when God decides that it's time for you to get together, he's going to give you somebody that's going to keep up with you. And let me tell you, every time I thought I was sneaking to do something, I was in trouble. I was calling my friends like, y'all, this lady just called me and said that I can't do this. She know everything. So that's what made me straighten up. To be honest, it wasn't because I wanted to. It was because I knew he was telling me. So I knew somebody was sitting in the church and they knew everything I was doing. So I was like, okay, no more going to hang out at the club. No more going over men's house. So that's what helped me change my life. And if you desire it, God will give you that. But you got to have that little bit of a yes in your spirit to get there. No, I was not perfect. I promise you I wasn't. I'm still not perfect. Because the thoughts that go in my head, I don't say it all out loud. But I have stuff that I think that doesn't come out my mouth. I tell my friends personally, I'll tell them. And then I have one friend that tries to straighten me up all the time. So nobody's perfect. You can have those thoughts. You can do that stuff. But it just takes that one little yes just to get there. And I hope it encouraged somebody because you got to know that nobody's perfect. Nobody will never be perfect. I don't look like my friends actually, they sent me a message and they called me a first lady. They were laughing at me and I'm like, I don't look like a first lady at all. I don't dress, but I don't know how to, I think after so long getting in the church and trying to get your life together, you start changing and you're not doing everything that the world is doing. So they want you in the leggings and the short shirt, and they want you to look like them, and then we don't look like that anymore. But it's a process. It's definitely a process. Look.
Yes, it is.
I'm done.
Good. That was just part one of Kemoni.
I need like a year to listen almost. So.
All right, so I like to respect people's time. If it's a few of you guys can hang out a little bit longer, not quite 8 o'clock. We opened the floor last time. We shut off the phones. I could say bye.
Oh, sorry.
Bye, Facebook people. Be Sierra.
I said bye.